I now call this board meeting to order. Vicki, could you please lead us the prayer?
Our Heavenly Father, we praise you and thank you for gathering us here today. We ask that you send your Holy Spirit and bless this meeting and everybody present here. That the decisions made today are for the betterment of our court and our community. We ask this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Please, can you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Don?
Anybody signed up for the public?
Peter.
No, there's no one signed up for the public.
No public audience today? Okay. Nobody signed up for the public audience, so we start with the agendas then?
Okay. Item number 3, approve minutes of special board meeting of May 23rd, 2006, and regular board meeting of May 24th, 2006.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Item number 4, presentation of Doc 16 status. Mr. List.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, good afternoon, commissioners, and our visitors this afternoon. We opted to give a little PowerPoint this afternoon, mostly as a refresher to the 2 new commissioners, and because there's been some changes that we have felt are significant in what we were proposing to do with Doc 16, and I think it was necessary for us to pause with this ambitious project and to look at the features and reevaluate it, make sure that we're going down the right direction with this project. And Herman, can you get that started?
Here,
Maybe
why don't you go over here and
Sit right here.
just go.
You sit right here.
I'll get the check.
As explained when we had this in a previous session, is that our proposal is that Doc 16, which would be in a sense a replica of Doc 15, it is a necessary part of our infrastructure of future needs in view of our growth, especially in the bulk and break bulk cargoes. And the main issue is the Dock 15 is a deep cargo dock, 42 feet, and it can bring in vessels of 39 feet draft. And it is a heavy dock facility, so we can bring in our steel slab and other heavy products, bulk cargoes such as iron ore, fluorspar, and so on. As each day passes, we have evidenced the additional large ships that are coming, all seeking this berth, and therefore sometimes have conflicts. And when we have a conflict on a large vessel, the charter cost of these vessels is very high. They can come in with 40 up to 50,000 tons or more of cargo, and because of their magnitude size, they get charged heavy demurrage if they don't get in and out of the port, get in and out of a berth, during the free time that they're allotted by the charter party. So if we want to keep up with our existing business and our additional growth in the future, we feel that it's essential that we move now to assure our capacity increase for the future. And right there where the arrow is where we're proposing Dock 16. And there's an overview of it, a sky view, and basically there's where 15 is. So much of our activity is there. We feel that you know, as much of a third or greater amount of our tonnage goes to Dock 15 at this time. And of course, the rail is there in the bottom part of and that's where the steel slab is carried across to. It goes to the BRG Railroad and moves on over to Mexico. So it's all in the same complex, and that's why, again, that it's all focused on the same area. And the other piece to that, of course, is our Gottwald crane, which is a very versatile crane, and it can serve for all different types of cargo: the slab, the steel rolls, plate, and then for the bulk cargoes as well, depending on the attachment you put on the crane. But that all happens in this complex, is why in this deep water area we want to keep the activity there and the additional Dock 16. And there's some information on the actual results of the accomplishment of Dock 15 when that all happened, and the EDA request and so on. We have reapplied for an EDA grant to help us with this major project. We have reduced the amount of the request to be more realistic with the possibility of getting an award. Previously, $10 million was requested, and apparently because of that, it was rejected. It wasn't realistic. And here's the drawings of how it would work: the existing Dock 15, 16, and then the patio space behind it. Again, all that patio space is to do the terminal operating, if you will, and the moving of the steel to stage it for transportation on the BRG Railroad. And of course, phase 1 is what we saw before. Phase 2 would be a warehouse, the inclusion of a warehouse, and that's a creative way of turning the building to not sacrifice unnecessarily space that's needed for staging of the product. And there's the green and the red segregate the phase 1 and phase 2. We envision that you know, once completed, approximately 1.3 million annual metric tons would be going to Dock 16 once it's up and running. That would increase our revenues for that extra tonnage $650,000 a year. It would increase the rail movement revenue of to approximately $2.1 additional million for that incremental cargo. And again, what I mentioned about would minimize the demurrage and or the shifting of vessels, which is very expensive, especially this size of vessels. And to add to that, what we talked about before, why are these vessels coming in so large? Why do they prefer to use the Port of Brownsville for that? Is because when they can get this amount of tonnage in a single ship, it's like so many other things today. It's a very competitive market. And so by getting 40, 50, 60,000 tons in one ship, they get the economies of scale in one package. So the cost per ton by bringing it to the Port of Brownsville with the deep water, with the fast crane, with good stevedoring companies, not to leave that out because they are certainly a factor in being able to service this kind of cargo in an efficient manner, is what makes it attractive. So if we want to continue the pace we're going and grow, this is the direction we need to go. These are some of the steps that we need to go through for this. We've already determined the funding source. We sort of put that on hold now for as we pause, just to revisit this to make sure that we can move forward with it in the manner that we've projected. and then all the things that have to happen through the engineering assignments. And there's phase 1 and phase 2 that we already sort of went over. There's our schedule, and it's scheduled to be 30 months. Right now, we're going to lose about a month as we go through this exercise. The in-house development of the permit, this will help us speed up and will also help save us money. We were looking at going with a firm, the firm that designed Dock 15. Similar design, less effort, accelerated design, reduced costs, explore design, build approach. But again, this was our initial firm approach. But the figures that came in for materials that have increased in cost, labor that's increased in cost, and so on, so quickly. Steel, as everybody knows, is really the price has gone way up. The numbers were not what we initially projected. So we have a limited cash flow base to meet our deficit for the bonds. And this is what is putting some concerns to this, and we want to relook at. And one of the things that we have thought about is, maybe it's not the best concept to redo 15 if we can do something similar that will meet the needs but can cost us $2 or $3 million less. For example, then that would put us back within our budget to go ahead and move forward with this. So we're going to be visiting with the engineering firms to get creative and see if we can do this. Another remote idea is to see how we could expand Dock 15 for a temporary arrangement and somehow be able to put 2 vessels there by adding perhaps a dolphin at one end and being able to move these 2 vessels back and forth so they could work the different holes at 15. That's sort of a long shot, but it's one of the things that we're going to be looking at. We're looking at federal funds, but I think if everybody is tuned into what's happening in Washington, basically everywhere you go and try to get funds, they'll tell you this is the worst era they've ever seen, that everything is dried up and it's very difficult. But we'll certainly keep requesting that and keep our fingers crossed. If we should get something like that, and our final project, phase 1, comes down to like $14 million, then we can handle it. So this is what we're keeping our fingers crossed. We're working with our lobbyists to help us break loose some of these monies for this project, and it is certainly needed for our growth, and it's related to the jobs and everything else that happens when we get new business and we keep growing. Thank you very much. And I don't know if there's any questions, but
Mr. List, I have some questions.
yes, sir.
Seems like a lot happens when you miss one meeting. I'm concerned that we are backtracking on a commitment that we made as a board to proceed forward with this project.
Right.
What's happened? What has changed?
Well, what has happened, sir, is that, like I alluded to, we had looked at a project that we thought we were going to be able to achieve with about $12 million. And although it's not etched in stone, some of the numbers that came in were more like $16 million, okay? And our base cash flow to be able to attain a debt service would put us in a bad position. So I think $850,000 a year is about all we can.
But I asked that question specifically to Debbie, and she said that we could afford this bond
We were
service.
looking at a $10 million bond, looking at a $14 million.
It's not going to go down if we wait.
No, I agree with you, sir, and that's why we're saying only using the word pause to.
What exactly are we going to do in these 30 days that we put this on hold? And what exactly are we going to try to accomplish during that period?
We haven't put it on hold, but as I was referring to, is that we're going to look at different options, because the initial concept was that we could use the footprint of Dock 15 and redo it, okay? And that philosophy supposedly would save us money. Well, it would on the engineering side of it, but perhaps on the design part of it, if they could do another design that would be less expensive but still meet our requirements, could save us $2 or maybe more, or $3 million is what we're hoping for, if the other design will work and will have the surface strength necessary for this. But you know, if we're just going to save in the design, but it'll cost us more in the build, I mean, yes, then it wouldn't be the right decision to make, is what we feel, and that's what's changed. Unfortunately, yes.
Let
Go
me
ahead.
qualify that 16 million.
Yes.
After in talking to the engineers that did the pesticides, kind of mostly were saying anywhere from 16 to 20 million. And we go and what the figure I gave you, and I didn't explain it to you, and I apologize, is I gave you the low figure, because to me the 20 seems too high, and Hector was saying, well, maybe 18. But you're looking at anywhere from 16 to 18 to 19 million dollars for construction cost, and this is one of the problems.
That's what's changed. But we will stay very active with this, and we will do everything to keep it on course. We hope to have for next meeting an update that will have new information that will be positive, so we can continue to go forward. We have to go forward.
We have to go forward, Mr. List, because, I mean, this is, our largest customer has told us that they need this dock here.
That is
This is a proven revenue maker for the port.
That's
This
correct.
is a capital asset. This is not some pie in the sky hope that Mexico one day approves it. This is a capital asset that is waiting to make money for us here.
We couldn't agree with you more. You're absolutely on target. On that note, we also have had some conversations with our largest customer, and they would consider, and they're serious about it, investing in that. Of course, that would be a partnership, and the private-public partnership gets a little complicated. So I think if we want to discuss that a little further, that's important. But again, we would have to forgive them some revenues to pay them back, and are we willing to do that, or some of the considerations there. But that is also a partial or a total option, and they have said that they will contribute.
And Nino, are you in agreement that it's going to be that much more over and above your original estimate?
Yes, sir. I don't really have not put down, looked at it, because I really don't have the background on the dock, and I'm having to accept the word of the Hector and I of the engineers, since he's got his
Well,
background.
didn't Shiner Mosley first tell us it would be about $12 million?
No, they've been. They really had not come out and said what it was. If you look at your construction cost in the last 2 years, they've gone up by 40 to 50%.
That's the problem.
And so that's one thing. And then we had what, $9 million on the other one.
Total engineering construction costs for Dock 15 was 10.7.
Yeah, but the construction was $9 million more or less.
9.7.
And that was back in what, 2000 and
96.
things have really inflated on this thing. The last 2 years more so.
It's 10 years ago.
We can look into it some more and see if we can refine that figure, but it's a question of where's the money coming from.
What would be the debt service on a project of a revenue bond of 14 to 16 million? Do we know?
Probably about $1.2 million or $1 million.
That stretches us a little too much.
It stretches according to
Stretches our coverage. I mean, we don't even know if we could really qualify.
qualify.
I mean, we just have to go back and look at that, because we do have that issue.
So we might have to look at some type of partnership then.
I mean, a partnership would be a consideration, absolutely. We agree with you, what you said earlier about we need to move forward with this infrastructure and or do something creative with the other. But that's what we're going to be doing in the next couple of weeks, and hope to come back to the board with more concrete information how we think we should go.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
It's informational.
Next item, 5, Port Director's Report, Mr. List.
Thank you, Mom.
Okay. Information regarding activity at the port. I have some good notes to report this afternoon for the commissioners. APM, again, which is one of our major customers, steel customers, has invited the commissioners, especially the 2 new commissioners, to come to Monterrey to see their operation, and the date that they have offered is July 7th, so travel on July 6th, Thursday, to be at their facilities for early tour in the morning on Friday the 7th of July. If that works in your calendars, they want to go forward with that date. They're anxious to show off what they do and to show how well they work in conjunction with the Port of Brownsville and all that happens to the steel slab when it gets to their facilities and is converted into automobiles and the other products that they make from the steel that comes through the Port of Brownsville. And okay, last week Commissioner Masso jumped on a plane with us. Tony Rodriguez and myself went down to Honduras. We feel that this is one of the areas that we've been targeting as a good trading partner with the Port of Brownsville, an avenue to start liner service. Liner service means a regular scheduled vessels that comes to the port, and with that, of course, possibly container business on the same ship. I think it was a very intense 2 or 3 days, but it was a very productive 2 or 3 days. We got to meet the new port director from the port of Puerto Cortes, Honduras, and a person who has less tenure than I do as director. So very, very nice fellow. They opened arms to us. They want to do business with us. Why hadn't we come before? That there's a lot of synergies between us, and they just can't wait for us to start doing business with them. It just makes a lot of sense. We would be a cost-effective port the way they see us. We told them about the valley. We told them about Matamoros, Monterrey, the people base there is here, the consumer base, and they just didn't know a lot of that, and that's why it's very important sometimes to go out and pitch to the other side and have person-to-person meetings. They're still effective, and that's where you do business. We got to meet with the Association of Maquiladoras in Honduras, and they told us a lot about their business and how it's changing with the CAFCA. CAFCA is like the NAFTA here, but it's a Central America Free Trade Agreement with the United States, and that is so they're jumping on the bandwagon with these new opportunities, and they're trying to see what works with them. If we're their trading partner, they're going to focus on doing all of that with us. So what is changing is they may not be bringing the textiles from China anymore. They're going to be more integrated, and we were happy to learn that from the cotton itself on up is what they're going to start doing. So they're going to be spinning yarn, not spinning stories, spinning yarn, and from the base. And I recall from Mr. Chilton's historic comments, that there used to be a lot of cotton here in the 50s, and why can't we regenerate that? And I know that Dick's Shipping is receiving cotton as we speak, how easy to put it on a vessel to send it down there. They're going to have, I think the lady told us like 6 textileras. They're going to have that operation in the near future to make textiles. So they would take cut goods in a container down to Honduras and Guatemala to be sewn, packaged, and sent back. Now they'll be taking cotton and with this new Kafka. They will be taking cotton, convert it into textiles. They cut it themselves, then they sew it themselves, and then they package it and send it back. So this is going to be an integrated process. It's going to be an evolution of what happened. And I think it will help them conserve their business, their maquiladora business, as it's been threatened, if you will, a lot by Far East cost of production, which is so low. So we see good things. We also met with the representative of the Association of Produce Exporters. A lot of things are starting to happen in these countries. What they used to say, Latin America is going to end up being the farms for the United States, especially in the cold season. We talked about that a lot. When we don't grow melons and we don't grow some other products here in the States, then they would come from Latin America. And this is what's happened all through Central America. When I worked with Del Monte, Costa Rica, we used to do, the first year we did like 1 million boxes of melons. Now those countries are doing 12 million. It's just grown. It's gotten out of hand. But they've also gotten more confident, and now instead of doing just melons, they're doing cucumbers in high volumes. Well, we learned that up in La Ceiba in Honduras, there's a company that is doing Oriental vegetables, frozen vegetables, and we asked how many loads per year does that mean? And I thought they would say like 800 at the high side. They told us 3,000 container loads per year. So this is all big business. Again, we're working with HEB to start looking at the valley and looking at the Port of Brownsville to be in the doorway to bringing in a lot of these goods in for the HEBs. And how many are there here in the valley? What's going on at Matamoros and Monterey? All of the super Walmarts now, everything is super Target, and they have all the vegetables and all this. If we can save them $300 by not going over another major port and trucking it down to the valley, all of a sudden we're making the possibility of the service very, very viable. So we're very pleased with what happened. We thank Commissioner Masso, real trooper, jumped in there with us. The final good piece of news regarding all of that, because things, when you're trying hard and everybody's coming together and working hard, tend to work out. We've been talking to a small line that would offer that service. This afternoon I received a call from them that said if we can pull it off, if we can be prepared for that, they will bring the first ship here on June the 23rd. I don't know if we can do that, but this just happened this afternoon. So
work, Roy.
For somebody.
Yeah. This is a roll-on, roll-off shipper that has its ramps, so it'll be good. What we went to sell down there is the fact that we have a lot of Transmigrante automobiles, and that they are challenged by crossing overland Mexico with all of the cost that incurs, the increased fuel, and the bad roads in the south part of Mexico, Chiapas, and all of that, and then the security issues that go along with that. So we think that they're gonna really jump on our service here, and I hope that by Friday we will feel confident enough to respond to them and say, yes, bring it. We will have enough cars for that first sailing, and then we're going to try to bring lumber back from Honduras, Guatemala, and all the other commodities that we think we can get on there. So that was a long speech, but I think this is really key to what we're trying to do here, and we're finally making some progress with it. On this side of the river, we are certainly trying to think more regional, and I've been talking with the BEDC, and their chairman, Greg McCumber, is arranging a meeting with the mayor of McAllen, and along the lines of the same perishables that we're talking about bringing in here. McAllen has the infrastructure, the refrigerated infrastructure, the distribution infrastructure to be able to handle all this produce. If we get so lucky to get get this going, and in January, February of 2007, start bringing in melons directly through the Port of Brownsville for HEB and the other users. They will have probably a part in this activity in the distribution, because that's what they've done a lot, crossing over from Mexico through the years, and they're experts at doing that. So we're going to travel up in the next week or so to be able to help coordinate that, and that's the other piece that we need for the distribution here. On another note, the fishing harbor, we continue to do our work down there, and thanks to Joe Garza, I don't see him in the audience, but we have our first load of materials of wood that's in there for that, as we promised the folks from the association down there, that had been left abandoned a little bit, and the condition of the docks and everything was a little deplorable. So we're on that. We're continuing to move. We have to drive pilings, and that has to be a contractor, and so that's all moving along, and we're going to stay close to it to make sure that we don't abandon that effort. Security continues to be, something that we have to stay focused on. I think I mentioned last time that we are now automated. Mr. Gavito and Hector have certainly worked hard to do that and spend our grant dollars and our own money wisely. And so we have our cards now that we can swipe and get through. We don't have to. We don't have to get out all of our information and justify why you have to go in. So all of our employees, I believe, now pretty much have those cards, and it also is color coded, so you know where you can access the port. So it's restricted in some areas for people who don't have the color code to go into the restricted areas. This is a step in the right direction. We believe that most people are good people, but there's wake-up calls like what just happened in Canada, and to not put down our guard. 17 people not well intended, and really is a wake-up call, and this can happen here and anywhere. So, we have users and visitors that complain how much of an inconvenience it is to get into the Port of Brownsville. I think we're pretty friendly, and Mr. Garrita's been charged to be friendly as possible for the commercial side of it, but at the same time we have to be very strict, because one of the users was saying, well, somebody went out to lunch and they forgot their wallet, and then they get a hard time. Well, how can you drive a vehicle if you don't have your license with you? You shouldn't go without your wallet, and it is a requirement to have. And I use my ID every time I come in. So, and I think they pretty much know who I am by now. We have a conference invitation to Shanghai, and we're studying that to see, and I will come back to the board to see if we want to attend that. I think that's very valuable, as the consumer cargo coming from the Far East is very important to us. And again, along the same lines we were talking about using the Port of Brownsville. Again, those lines have found that more and more ports in the United States and other areas are becoming more and more congested. They like to hear about lots of space, which we have, and efficient, operations opportunities that they can find here. We talk to our lobbyists on a weekly basis. One of the things that we're onto is we have major challenges with dredging and our upcoming dredging and so on. And we've had thinking sessions, brainstorm sessions. One of them has been, how can you get a more dedicated dredging service to our area? And so we've been throwing ideas around, and one of the things is through our lobbyist and Chairman Young of Alaska on the Transportation Committee is to see, because now they have a couple of dredges that are actually government dredges, but limited to a certain amount of hours that they can work per year, and the private lobbyists are trying to decommission these two that are here. They're very valuable to us in this area, so that they apparently won't be as much of a competitive factor. Well, we're asking the Congressman Congressman Young, Chairman Young, to help us maybe decommission that for Texas, that they send us to Texas and somehow make an arrangement to where it would serve the Texas ports in somehow a fair manner to distribute the number of hours it could work here. That's not done yet, but I think it's a great idea and it's channeled in the right direction. We hope we're successful in that. And with that, those are all my comments this afternoon. And what's this about?
Glenn Lemunion.
Oh, if yes.
Glenn Lemunion, one of our lobbyists, just called and said that, I guess through the grant submission that
Wow.
Hector sent, gotta be, that we got $150,000 for Dock 16
That is great.
through
That is,
HUD. That's EDA, so I'm not sure if it's in correlation with the grant application,
just start.
but it just passed.
It's a start.
Yeah, and that's it. Every little penny counts, and good news. And thank you for that.
Are there any questions? Mr. Solid?
Mr. Chairman, I wanted to share with you and the rest of the commissioners and Mr. List. I was at a dinner party on Saturday night, and some folks there were talking about cruise ships, wondering where we are on cruise ships. And I told them that, it was something that I had talked about in the 2004 campaign, and they just wanted to encourage us to pursue that, to pursue the attracting of cruise ships. For a long time, Galveston was a sleepy little port town, and one day somebody there decided that they should have cruise ships. And we've talked to the port director there, and I think...
Steve Cernak.
Yeah, exactly. Carnival built their terminal first, and then Royal Caribbean followed.
Yes, sir.
And it's transformed the entire port and that entire area. I know Commissioner Cristiano has sailed out of that port. And what I would like to see us do, and I'll leave this to your good judgment, Mr. Chairman, I would like to see us have a concerted, focused effort on attracting a cruise ship. We've dabbled in it over the years. We've kind of done it piecemeal. But if we could have a real focused and coherent and sort of targeted approach to getting it, either here or at land that we own, I think that would be beneficial. I don't think we've actually really tried to get that service here. I'm not talking about the ones that go out in the bay and come back and you can gamble. I'm talking about a real
The gaming
exactly.
type one day.
We can combine it with some type of deal with the South Padre Island. If we parlay our assets with South Padre Island, we can have sort of like Disney does with a land and sea type deal. We have a very personable and engaging mayor in Matamoros that we could partner with. We could work with Mr. McCumber. I just think there's a lot of opportunities there if we decide to pursue this. I think the people that spoke with me on Saturday night are representative of the community. They'd like to see us at least try hard to get that. So I'll leave that to you, Mr. Chairman, for your good judgment in the future.
I would like to add to that and give an update. As everybody knows, Tony Rodriguez and myself went to Miami for Sea Trade, which is the largest cruise conference in the world, and which, when I worked at the Port of Miami, I attended every year. And of course, I am familiar with and acquainted with and a lot of the executives at the cruise lines and the people that are decision makers. It is a step-by-step process. We have started that communication, and so they know who we are, they know where we are. We had planned, again, one of the things is the board gets settled in and a lot of things get taken care of so that we can venture out a little bit more, and I think evidence of that is we already jumped out to Honduras. We want to do a lot of these other things. But Carnival Cruise Lines, we know the operations people, this and that, and so we can jump right in there. Of course, the first question they ask is, do you have a terminal? Do you have a cruise terminal? Of course, we don't have a cruise terminal. Cruise terminal can be anywhere from $30-40 million to $200 million, depending on what you're trying to do. So I think we have to be ambitious, but it could be a slow process. But you gave a good example of what Galveston has done in just a few years, and Steve Cernak is really a proven leader in that achievement. We have already told Carnival Cruise Lines, for example, that there's creative ways to do it. We can put up a tent and you know, to process the people, and that's what Customs and Immigration will require, some area where because they used to clear people on the vessels, and that's sort of a thing of the past. So we would certainly continue to invite them. We have enough water to handle pretty much any size of cruise vessel in here, so that's an advantage this port has. But you know, the facility. So I think we would pretty much have to bus the people to South Padre Island, bus them over to Matamoros, over to Monterrey, or whatever the ground tour is projected to be. And I think it would be a very nice destination for a lot of folks, because we are a part of the you know, we are right across the river from Mexico, and that's something that Galveston doesn't have, Miami doesn't have, nobody has that, and that's a kind of additional feature, because the cruise vessel would come into a port of the United States, and then you just hop on a bus, go across, have your fun, and come right back. So I think we have a lot to offer, a lot to sell, and we do know the people, and I thank Commissioner Zavaleta for really re-energizing us to go in that direction. Tony.
Let me just make a comment on what you just said, Commissioner Zavaleta, Mr. Chairman. There's actually an existing committee now on the cruise ship concept. We got together right before we went to the conference on the 1st of March, and we met with the Brownsville Convention and Visitors Bureau, with the South Padre Island Convention Bureau, with the airport, the several travel agencies, and we met and brainstormed what they wanted us to see we can get from that conference. And it's just, of course, right now it's been kind of sidestep. We have other, but we're going to be meeting quarterly with them, and to see we can, our next step was to come up with a presentation. We got pretty good feedback from Carnival Cruise, I think. We were there, and they told us exactly what we need to go out there, put a presentation, about 6 or 8 slides, and get it together, advertise our region. It was basically just trying to give them an option to the cruise industry to stop at the port, not be a departure port, but just an option for them to come into the port of Brownsville. For the hurricane season will be upon us, just to give them another option to come into the port of Brownsville. But there is an existing committee with us, with the Convention and Visitors Bureau, Brownsville, South Padre Island, Matamoros. We had people from the Matamoros tourist industry, and it's going to be actually an effort of everybody. The airport, South Padre Island Airport, right. The Harlingen Airport, and travel agencies, to make this project a successful project for everybody.
Thank you.
Let me just add about, if I can, about the Honduras trip. That I was very impressed with both Mr. List and Mr. Rodriguez were able to set up this trip in a short period of time, and they were able to set up all these meetings with top officials in the different industries, and they were very productive meetings, and I think that we'll be able to do some business with these people who received us very well. Mr. List is familiar with a lot of those folks down there. Through his contacts from Miami and from Costa Rica, and also Mr. Rodriguez as well from his prior trips over there. So it looks very promising, and I think we'll be able to develop some business with them in Honduras.
Thank you for that. We certainly agree, and it's starting to pay off, and it will pay off. And the fact that the little line we're talking to called us and said they're going to send a ship over means that they believe in it too. So we've got a good partnership going here.
I just had a quick question.
Yes, sir.
That Mr. List, regarding the produce and the fruits that will be coming over here. Would they require any type of refrigeration?
That's why, that's why I mentioned the additional piece of the puzzle, which, McAllen is what I threw in there because they have the refrigeration. We are pretending, and again, if this is this vessel that comes in, the roll-on, roll-off ship that we're talking about, we intend to put what you call Thermo King trailers on, which are refrigerated units, and they could run on diesel or another kind of fuel, so they would actually put them on the ship ship in Guatemala or Honduras and come this way with the diesel unit running and keeping the product refrigerated. It's about a 4.5-day trip or a 4-day trip from North Central America to here, and so then that trailer would roll on to the HEB store, for example, where those melons are going to, or those cucumbers are going to be consumed. Then they empty it. They would be on pallets. They use pallet jacks. They empty it into the warehouse, and then the empty trailer goes back to the ship and goes back to either dry load with cardboard boxes for packing in Honduras, and everything is used, and that's how we would pretend to do it. To have a cold storage facility here is a very expensive investment, and my personal experience through the years is that most of those tend to become, not all cases, some ports do very well, but tend to be white elephants if you really don't have enough volume committed to make them productive. And so it's something we want to be really careful with, but get creative and use other means of transporting, meeting the people's needs, and not getting another infrastructure commitment at this time. Any other questions on that?
Sure. Santos?
I was going to say, Bernie, we
Yes.
have some cold storage here in town. Tex-Mex and those places that might be able to help out.
Tex-Mex.
No?
It's freezer.
It's all frozen, yeah. Well,
How about the one by the airport?
That one I don't know. In talking to
Little farm, it's a freezer.
yeah.
It's freezer
it's a
too.
freezer also.
which if we get some of the Oriental vegetables we're going to work on, then that would be ideal to store that. But the fresh goods just go on through, and those are consumed very rapidly. So you don't have a major issue with it. The shelf lives are short. So okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 6, consider an act on appointing a board member to represent the Brownsville Navigation District in the Brownsville Metropolitan Planning Organization Policy Committee. Mr. List.
Okay. That is customarily a board member, and I had asked Mr. Collins if he had a chance to come over and just sort of share what he did as the representative of the board on that on the MPO Metropolitan Planning Organization, and it's an effort to coordinate transportation needs between TxDOT and the other infrastructure organizations, and I can read here what he sent over. Usually meet at the Mary Ituria Historical Center on the second Wednesday of each month. The mayor of Brownsville chairs the meeting. Meeting starts at 10 a.m. and lasts usually 1 hour. You get a package from Mark Loon, the director of the MPO, a week prior to the meeting. It takes about an hour to go through and study the package. Who is the MPO? The City of Brownsville, Cameron County, Port of Brownsville, Chamber of Commerce, BDC, the schools, the City of Los Fresnos, City of Rancho, Airport Advisory Board, and any other entity that wants to attend. What is the MPO? As the city or area grows, more roads are needed. Some need to be redone, widened, rerouted, and so on. The Texas Department of Transportation engineers for this area meet with these entities to discuss their immediate, short, and long-term range plans for addressing that. They also ask for their comments and opinions in doing such. They also discuss what are the top priorities costs for each, time it would take to do a project, pros and cons of each project, such as traffic, the effect on business, and so on. The Port of Brownsville has one vote on the MPO, and Hector also attends, but Hector does not have a vote. And I don't know if you'd like to add any comments of what your function is on the MPO.
Well, I'm a member of the technical committee, and we meet like today at the first Wednesday of February every month at 2 o'clock over the planning offices. Basically, it is an organization that plans future roads and growth for Cameron County, Brownsville, Rancho Airport, Los Fresnos. TxDOT is heavily involved, and it's a prioritization for the different monies and studies that need to be done as the city grows and expands. My role is just helping in the technical committee. Then Mr. Mark Long, which is the director of the MPO, presents it to the board, and the board makes recommendations to the city board. regarding the different roads and infrastructure that is planned. And
So
I have to appoint a commissioner.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to recommend Mr. Masu sit on that board, Mr. Chairman.
Something
Anybody else?
would you like to do it?
I'll do it.
Great. I'll second it.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Item number 7,
But excuse me, by the way, there is more backup in here, I'm sorry, that I didn't mention in our backup referring to what the function is and everything.
Page 18, 17, tells you everything. Go ahead.
Item number 7, consider an act on attending the American Association of Port Authorities 15th Latin American Congress of Port Conference to be held in Guayaquil, Ecuador on June 27th through the 30th of 2006.
Okay. The American Association of Port Authorities, everybody I think is familiar with. That is the association for ports. The latest and greatest information comes from them. I have my professional port manager certification through them, and they have that is all of the Americas, the Western Hemisphere, which is from the North Pole to the South Pole in the Americas, are the members of the American Association of Port Authorities. Not just the United States; it's the whole hemisphere. We are certainly active as a port. I think we reap the benefits of being active in the different kinds of conferences and information. Debbie attends some, Donna attends some, I attend some, and of course the commissioners are going to attend next week the commissioners conference in Canada. I think that this session in particular is valuable to us because it is comprised of the different representatives and key representatives of Latin American ports. That we, even though we're a U.S. port, I think we're a bicultural port, and we can learn a lot from the projects they have, how they go about them, how they deal with their customers, and so on and so on. The other side of the opportunity is, since it's going to be held in Ecuador, in Guayaquil, we can also do a little networking, or maybe stay another day to visit the port of Esmeraldas, which is a major lumber shipping port, and we've been working hard to try to include that commodity within the tonnage that we bring into the port here. And Ecuador is one of the suppliers of lumber. I know of a service that does it for South Florida, and if we could get so lucky as to get a similar type of service to go into Esmeraldas and Brownsville to bring in lumber to supply. Mexico basically does not have any lumber, and they basically are a consumer. The northern part of Mexico got hit by Emily, as we talked about some time ago, and so we think it's a great opportunity to us. So there are other products being exported from Ecuador. We would like to explore that a little bit further.
Who are you recommending goes to go on this conference?
I would like to go myself. I know many of the members, and I've had some conversations started with some of the people from Ecuador. I think we witnessed that, and again, I'm not proposing it has to be that way, that our little committee that went to Honduras, by being small, we didn't overwhelm the people that received us. They could focus as just 3 people here, and I would like to, maybe have one representative from the board, maybe one of our marketing folks and myself, or maybe, again, we have to look at our budget for that and to see exactly how many, but that's how I was thinking, and if that works.
Any questions on that? We have a motion on that.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item number 8, consideration of an action on agreed judgment and site assess agreement regarding Baldwin Waste Oil Site.
This is a matter that has been addressed previously in executive session. There's some information in your packet. You're being represented by the Austin law firm of Fritz, Byrne and Head. You should have also received a briefing from your attorney in Austin about the case. I can describe it briefly, or if you want to talk about an executive session, I will leave that up to the board. But what is presented today is a possible settlement of that litigation, plus a side access agreement that would be necessary for some post-settlement matters. And I will leave it to your discretion whether you want to talk about it here in executive session.
It's pretty much already been agreed to. Is that correct?
We talked about that at the last session, right? We talked about that at the last session?
We've talked about it in executive session. I think, let me briefly then discuss it then. It's important to understand that this is a lawsuit in which the port is potentially responsible for contamination that it did not cause. The port didn't do anything wrong. The port sold material from its ballast pit to an operator who then transmitted it to a facility in Robstown, Texas.
It's about 30 years ago.
About 30 years ago. Unfortunately, he did not handle it appropriately there. And under state and federal environmental laws, anyone who had product end up at that site is potentially responsible for the entire cleanup. It was about a $2 million cleanup. The port did not pay any of that. This amount is for post-cleanup activities. The port's being asked to share in that with some other parties. Your lawyer in Austin recommends this settlement, and I would recommend it also.
What is that side access? I know you explained the terms of the settlement. What about the side access that you're referring to?
Part of the settlement would be that the port would be responsible for a limited amount of post-closure monitoring. There are about 6 monitoring wells on the site now because there still is a small amount of contamination. The amount of contamination is so small that the TCEQ recommends do nothing except watch it. As part of the settlement, those 6 wells would be cut down to 3, and the Port of Brownsville will be responsible for monitoring those on an annual basis. The site is now owned by a private individual. In order to have those monitoring wells, we need her permission to go on the site, and that's what the site access agreement is an agreement with her that she gives us permission to conduct that monitoring activity.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Just a second, Mr. Chairman. I just have a couple of comments and maybe a question for Mr. Renfro. I think on the one hand, our attorney should be commended for coming in at a price less than what the board in the fall of 2005 had authorized the eventual payment of, and so you and Mr. Ronberger should both be commended for that, and I think both of y'all did a fine job. Also, I think it's significant that this is public land that was contaminated, and we're now paying the cleanup of it, and so I think that imposes a special responsibility on us to be good stewards of that land. In the same way that we flooded Bahia Grande and created life, we're now trying to clean up a spill that frankly we didn't cause, but that we're legally responsible for. And so I also would vote in favor of it on that ground as well. But I'd like to know whether through this entire exercise that's going to cost the taxpayers a lot of money, whether we can prevent this from happening again, or whether we can prevent us from being held legally responsible for something that we never did.
Ultimately, I think those steps have already been taken because you are required by law to have a ballast pit. The federal law requires that. At one time, your ballast charges, and I'm talking about many, many years ago when this happened, were so low that ships would actually come to Brownsville just to discharge their ballast. You have stopped that practice, and so you are now not in the business of accepting ballast. There may be options that you would look at. They would require a lot of money, but there are recycling options, as I understand it, at other ports where they capture this oily waste directly from the ship, and it's then sold immediately. One of the things you would do were you to do that is you would make sure that you maybe do a little more due diligence about the operator that you sold it to, made sure that he had a lot of insurance. One of the things that's important to understand is the gentleman that took this, Mr. Baldwin, had a very acrimonious relationship with the Port of Brownsville. Sued the Port of Brownsville several times, lost every time, but as a result,
this was his parting shot.
This was his parting shot.
Sure.
He was no friend of the Port of Brownsville. He is now dead. So it happened a very long time ago. Let me also emphasize that the waste was taken from the ballast pit at the Port of Brownsville. The ballast pit is a permitted facility under state law that has been and continues to be operated in accordance with state law. So this was not a failure in how we operate our ballast pit either. It's simply what strikes many people as unfair is that anyone that disposes of waste oil potentially is responsible for the cleanup wherever that waste oil ends up.
It's a bear of the law. I mean, it's a strict liability.
That's correct.
And Mr. Chairman, I don't think we have any choice but to go forward with the settlement. I feel bad about it. It happened 30 years ago. We didn't create the problem, but it's on us to fix it. By the way, where does the money go? It goes to the state, but does it go to a specific and dedicated purpose?
Some of it will. Some of it goes to reimburse the state for their costs. For their costs and what they have already done.
Do we have any mechanisms in place right now that deter that, like on our lease contracts, anything like that?
Contractual language?
We have general lease requirements with regard to insurance. Any lease where we believe there may be activity such as this, we have additional requirements for pollution control insurance. We also have now very strict language in our leases about environmental remediation. Now, all that being said, if you are a landowner, for instance, you are still responsible to the government to clean it up. Mm-hmm. You may then have a claim against someone else, the true culprit. But if you're a landowner, or in this case, the transmitter or generator of the product, you are responsible. The state and the EPA's position is, we're going to make you clean it up. If you have a claim against someone else, you go pursue that claim. We're not going to chase them, and that's what happened to us here.
And we do not have any insurance coverage for this? Did we never?
No.
Okay.
No.
That'd be one heck of a long tail, I guess, going back 30 years, right?
Well, and this really has gone on as a litigation matter since the early 90s. Yeah. And in the process of that, we pursued both insurance coverage and trying to find other potentially responsible parties to bring to the table to pay some money with limited success.
Those companies that are required to maintain that type of insurance, do we have some form of verification to show that they are carrying the insurance?
Yes.
We do?
Yes.
Okay.
On an annual basis?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, our leases all require that the insurance be carried and that we get certificates and that we be notified should the insurance be canceled or lapsed.
Very good.
Okay. Any questions? All those in favor of item number 8 signify by saying aye.
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 Item number 9,
carries.
consider an act on consulting contracts and work contracts. Number 1, A.J. Vassell Associates, Inc., invoice dated May 29th of 06 in the amount of $3,023.29.
Who handles that?
Yes, I'm sorry. The information is correct. As stated, they came to make a presentation to the board on that date. May 23rd was our 24th. Okay, with that, okay. And the 1023-29 was when Tony Vassal was here for his presentation to the board. So that's normally the charges range more in the $2,000 level. And there are Northeast representatives. There's 3 people involved in that, and it's actually quite an attractive rate that they charge us.
Any questions from the board?
I'll make the motion.
Will you hear a motion on that?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item number 10, canvass returns of the May 13, 2006 general election and for recount of votes.
As you all are probably aware, we did have a request for a recount for the votes in place 4. That was performed, and the results of the election did not change. However, the vote counts did. So we're going to come back to you for to canvass the new vote totals. And those are Carlos Masso has a vote total of 2,600. Don De Leon has a vote total of 2,329. And Julius Collins has a vote total of 2,088 votes.
Any questions on that, gentlemen?
I'll make a motion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item number 11, consider an act on items over $10,000. Item number 1, AT&T, $34,052.15. Vicki?
Herman has been negotiating with AT&T for quite a while to replace the phone system in this building. I believe it was purchased in 1996 or 1997. AT&T has a new technology, and we need to purchase this type of equipment to tie into it. The phones would be coming to us through the internet rather than through the landlines. We are going to be leasing this equipment rather than purchasing. It's a 3-year lease commitment. The annual payments are $12,585.72. Herman could probably tell you the savings. We will be having some savings on discontinuing 25 lines that come into the building. We will not pay long-distance charges. Well, I think we're netting like $200.
I think a small clarification on that is that's more like a lease purchase, right? So,
Okay.
After 36 months, the system will be ours. Then we will start to perceive considerable savings of like $1,000 a month compared to our existing system, right? And if you would like to add anything to that, please.
What the system is, it's a voice over IP. It comes from T1. It's a voice over IP system. It eliminates all long distance. Everything from Dallas south to Brownsville would be considered a local call. So a lot of our direct lines, a lot of our direct phone numbers, all those lines are eliminated. It's a total cost savings of about $900 to the port. Plus on top of a lot of the landlines that we're cutting. Again, because it's an internet-based system, we are leaving approximately about 8 landlines with a couple of fax lines. In case the system does go down, we always have a backup. It doesn't mean that if the electricity goes out, the system goes out. It doesn't, because it is connected through the internet. It goes through our computers. Our computers are connected through a backup battery. Mm-hmm. The lights go out, our computer's on, our phones are on. So we'd probably be the first ones south of Laredo to have the system. So what I heard is we got it at a very good price right before the SBC AT&T merger. And Christina's not here, but
to add to that is the equipment that we have currently was used when it was purchased. It's really outdated.
It was out of manufacturing when we got it.
The hardware is hard to find to replace and very expensive. So we're at a point of no return.
Do we have to amend our budget?
Oh, no.
For equipment, under equipment?
No, this would be an annual, this would not be a capital project, it would be in our operating.
And Debbie, what is it that we're paying for with the 34,000?
That is a lease
For 36
purchase
months, for 34,000
of the
we can
equipment.
pay it up front and have the system, or we can lease to own it in 36 months. During the 3 years or 36 months, we have all the maintenance, everything on the system.
That's the actual phones and the...
Okay, this covers everything for the next
Everything.
3 years.
3 years, and then after that, it's all ours. Completely separate server, won't intervene with what accounting is using. Now, the one thing, George is not here, but what we should be using is the old phone system. Because we have an abundance of them, the harbor master is having problems with their phones. But like Mr. Liss said, they're ancient and we can't find them. So the idea is to move this system over there. If one of their phones goes bad, we got extra that we can replace them. So we are going to find a house for our existing phones.
And you did talk to the people that use this system, and they were
Yes,
very happy.
I talked to them already.
They had some references for us to call.
As a point of reference, when we purchased the system that we're using now, it was about $27,000. So the cost is very reasonable considering the amount of time that we've gone.
Mr. List, you didn't sign the bid. Are you in favor of this?
Yes, I am, and I'm sorry, that was an omission, yes.
Okay, on the form, I mean, on the back of page 68.
Yes, okay.
I see it there very lightly.
No, I just wanted to make sure that this is something that you approved of as well.
I do, yes, sir.
Based on that, I'll make a motion
You
to...
know, like I said before, the system is not only old, it's a dinosaur. We need to move on.
I just had a quick question on that regarding the system. Were there any other companies that were looked at to see how, in terms of competitiveness or the technology, when you compare it to AT&T or, let's say, company A or B?
The system itself is a Cisco system. I did look at the system on the internet. The one that actually offers it is Southwestern Bell. The only other one we could have gone with would be a long distance provider, which in a sense buys their time or their air from now AT&T, which is one and the same. So I think there really isn't going back to the internet connection. Time Warner to come in here with a T1 same type of product that Southwestern Bell has, which is what we currently have, would be an $18,000 to $20,000 upfront cost. When we did the internet with Southwestern Bell, it was a zero cost. So I think, to put it short, AT&T comes much further than Time Warner or anyone else.
I'll make a motion.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item number 12, consider and take action to require 2 signatures on checks drawn on the pension account.
At our last meeting, Mr. Masso had asked us why we only had one signature on the pension account, and we didn't have a good answer for that. So we have gone back to the bank and had the signature cards updated to put 2 of the trustees as signatures on that account.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item number 13, consider and take action on assignments, negotiations, easements, subleases, and contracts in general. Item number 1, Cajun Emporium, Inc., Lux Line Enterprises, LLC, authority to negotiate.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, Cajun Emporium is in the process of working out the details of donating their improvements on Cajun Court at the Fishing Harbor to the National Children's Leukemia Foundation. Mr. Claude Berm, the Southern Regional Manager for Donations and Fundraising, is working with Mr. Jimmy Russell and Mr. Julius Collins as to the transfer of the improvements. And of course, that would be subject to the board approving of a lease with Lux Line Enterprises, LLC. They would be using the property to store, restore, sell donated, and purchase boats and equipment, of which part of the proceeds would be donated to the National Children's Leukemia Foundation. We have a representative here, or Mr. Byrne is here, if you have any questions about what he intends to do.
I just have a quick question. What improvements are there? What are the improvements?
There is an office building and a few little sheds on there that they would donate. Basically, they would take them over and refurbish them or remove them or whatever. So that's what they plan to do.
I have some information here on the charity.
Sure.
I would love to see.
Thank you.
I only brought 5, so I'm not
Okay, we can share.
I'll share with Bernie over here. Thank you. New York.
This is a concept that I actually started in 1992 in New York when charities were having trouble raising funds during difficult times. And the concept is that it's easier for people to donate personal property than it is cash. An old car, a boat that's in their backyard, fine art that's sitting in their basement, that sort of thing. Much easier to take that and donate it. And what we actually do is turn that into cash. And I started a program with a boatyard back in '92 to take donations of boats. And it was mostly fishing boats and pleasure yachts and that kind of thing. And it was extremely successful. We did 1,200 boats over 7 years and raised millions of dollars for charity by doing that. And I recognize the need here at the port, especially in the shrimp basin, with regard to the shrimp boats.
Absolutely.
Because what's happening is everyone's getting hurt. With what's going on with the shrimp industry, there are a lot of boats that are surplus at this point, and nobody knows what to do with them. The fishermen are getting hurt, the banks are getting hurt, and the port's ending up with some boats they don't really need either.
And not only that, when we have to salvage one, it's about $25,000 that we have to pull out of our pockets. So every one that your good folks repair is a benefit to us as well.
So what our program is going to do is take the boats as donations, give people a tax write-off for the appraised value of the boat, and then we'll restore it and put it either back into the shrimp industry or sell it to a foreign country for some other fishing purpose.
And it was these young people that are going to be working and learning a trade.
There's a program that I ran in conjunction with it. The program for the National Children's Leukemia Foundation supports research for cures for cancer. They provide funds for underprivileged children who need cancer care in the hospital, and they do a Make-A-Wish Foundation where children get a last wish to go to Disney World or whatever it is they like. I ran a program with the one I had going in New York where I used what's called BOCES there, which is a work study program for kind of problem students who go to school half the day and then work somewhere the other half the day. And we ran a program for them where we taught them about the marine industry, how to repair motors and how to restore boats and whatnot. So that program worked very well. We may start something like that here.
Okay, good.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Do we have a motion on the board, on the table? Second?
Second. And I wish you the best of luck and I hope you get a lot of donations.
Very worthwhile project.
Everyone has a kid now. We also take donations of personal property for anybody.
So you did take those too, okay.
Okay. An old car or boat or...
Oh, we've got a lot of those at
All
the
you
fishing
have to do
harbor.
is talk to Vicki McCallow, and she's the leader when it comes to pulling money together.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item number 2, Francisco Abrigo, authority to negotiate.
Mr. Abrigo is another lessee at the fishing harbor. He's requesting additional property, an additional 50 feet of dock. This is one of the areas that we have just cleaned up that was one of the old Buster Harris site. And so I'm asking the board to give me authority to amend his lease and add this additional dock area to Mr. Francisco Abrigo.
So moved.
Second.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item number 3, Felipe Coronado, doing business as Coronado Diesel Repair, Argo, and ES&H LLC.
Mr. Felipe Coronado has been at the fishing harbor for about a little over 30 years. He is in bad health, losing his sight, and has been approached by Argo and ES&H to buy his building and to pay his taxes that he owes. And so Mr. Francisco is asking us to bring it to the board and that he would like a release of his lease, subject to our negotiating a new lease with this company. They would be using it for storage of automotive equipment. So I'm asking the board to give me authority to negotiate a new lease with this company and release Mr. Coronado of his lease.
Questions?
So moved.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Item number 14, adjourning to executive session.
Time is now 6:20. We now adjourn for executive session, ladies and gentlemen.
Are we leaving this here?